Well, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the April edition of our Evolve webinars brought to you by our good friends at Max. I'm Gary Gibson, the CEO of the RSL and Services Clubs Association. I'm delighted you're able to join us today on a really important topic, the latest trends on consumer beverage tastes and products. We have an excellent panel of 4 presenters for you today, and I will introduce each one of them to you shortly. But I remind you that at the bottom of your screen, you have the capacity to ask questions. You can type in your question in the Q&A box, and if you type that question in, I will ask it on your behalf to the particular presenter or to all the presenters should the topic be relevant to all of them. I remind you also that this webinar session is recorded, and that we will distribute the link to download the recording tomorrow, so you may share it with your colleagues at your own venues should you wish to. So today the topic is about beverages, and we was motivated by the fact that the government has lifted the regulations from COVID with regard to people being able to stand at the bar, mingle, have a beer, and go back to some sense of normality in the way our venues operate. And I mean, beverage sales have struggled to improve. They are gradually improving, but they're still struggling compared to where they were pre-COVID. And so today's session is designed to give you a bit more information about what's available out there, what are the trends in tastes, and what people are looking for, and also some ideas about things you might wish to do to promote your beverage sales, to bring those people back into your venues, enjoying your hospitality. So I will take my slides off and invite our first speaker, Julian Black, to load up his slides. Julian is the Group Accounts Manager from Lion Beer. And as you would all know, Lion Beer is our premier beer supplier, our exclusive beer sponsor. And we're delighted that Julian's able to join us today. Welcome, Julian. Are you still on mute, Julian?
Thanks, Gary. I'm here if you can hear me.
I can hear you now, yes.
The controls had flicked from the bottom to the top, so I just had to navigate through that, but thanks for your patience. So thanks for the introduction, Gary. Julian Black from Lion. I'm Group Accounts Manager. I manage the key account team, mainly on-premise key account team for New South Wales, which encompasses around 65 groups of either clubs or hotels. And we've got 5 account managers in my team who look after all those great customers. Before I get into my presentation, I also did want to thank Gary for the opportunity, but also thank Denis Sullivan from Club Parramatta for his time, both today in presenting, but also preparing his presentation for today. So yeah, really appreciate your time and effort with this, Denis. All right, so I'm going to be sharing some information today, obviously trying to stick to topic as much as possible about growing your businesses as we recover from, you know, what has happened over the last 12 months with COVID, and obviously with now the new restrictions being lifted, and we're sort of approaching that new normal again. So today's menu, so we're looking at marketplace update and changes, product choice, so maximizing your revenue through product, and also promoting for growth. So some insights that we've been able to ascertain over the last sort of 6 to 12 months and what's happening in the marketplace. So patron behaviour has changed. So 41% of patrons are going out less frequently than pre-COVID, and that's driven by the 55 plus age bracket, who noted that COVID safety is their greatest concern. So that's probably no news to anyone, but it's something that we do need to be conscious of as we, you know, I guess, try and get our businesses in shape for what's hopefully going to be a really successful next 12 months. 46% of 35 to 54-year-old patrons said they're going out more frequently post-COVID lockdown. So you can tell that that sort of, you know, that age group are probably a little less or more risk adverse little less risk adverse, so they probably, they're more inclined to sort of go out and take that, be out, be social, and willing to do more than, I guess, the older age group. Post-COVID, value for money has become a more important driver of visitation. So if we can just pause on that for the moment, because I'm going to be sharing some things in a few slides just around value for money and how you can really adapt your way of working or selling to ensure that you're getting as much revenue in your tills as possible. Value doesn't mean cheap. So 2 in 5 patrons have sought more premium beverages during their visit. So, people are going out, they might have $100 to spend, but they're willing to spend that potentially on something that they might not have bought before, and something that might be new as well. And, they're not averse to going and trying a cocktail, which might be $18, but having less drinks, but more premium time when they're out because they might not be going out as much. So what's the opportunity and benefit from these insights? Promoting more premium trade up beers from a line perspective will grow your margin per serve. So making sure that you've got the right mix of products on your tap bank, ensuring that you've got a good premium level. So step up from, those classic brands of ours, such as like your Tui's and your Hans and whatnot. You want to be able to sort of have those brands that, you can step up into, like the James Squires, Kosciuszko's, or even White Rabbit, Little Creatures of the world, to ensure that you are maximising your margin and you're growing your margin per serve. So some other insights: 12% of New South Wales tap outlets, so any venue that has taps, have not yet reopened. So there's still a lot of venues out there that aren't open. Hopefully they do come back, but there's still quite a number that haven't opened post-COVID. Those that are open are selling tap beer at roughly 80% of their pre-COVID volumes. So as Gary mentioned in his open, we're not back to normal. We're hoping we get back to normal, but it's certainly going to be a little way in time until we do get there. So city venues are suffering the worst. So those CBD venues or clubs are at 55% of pre-COVID, and the country customers are faring better. They're at 85%. So any regional sort of country customers out there, you're certainly doing a bit better than the city venues. And I think we all know why that's the case, but the offices aren't as busy as they used to be. I know that there's a lot of work going into trying to get people back into the city and back into offices and, trying to stimulate that economy in the CBD. So I guess we'll watch this space, but fingers crossed there's some good activities that we can do to try and stimulate that as well. So in order to maximise revenue, you need to ensure that customers, so your customer, feel COVID safe. That's absolute table stakes. Because if they're not feeling comfortable and safe in your environment or your venue, that's the basics that we've got to get right. The other thing, now that the restrictions have been lifted on the standing up, having a beer, as Gary mentioned, speed of service is paramount. So you need to make sure that if you do have a venue that has high foot traffic, people mingling around, you don't want them to be queuing up for drinks, because once again, they won't feel safe. Potentially won't feel safe, standing close to people. So you want to ensure that speed of service is paramount and top of mind, especially in those busy, high traffic venues. So the next point I'm going to touch on is product choice. So I shared last time we did this webinar, that the big trusted brands, such as your Tui's New, your Tui's Old, 4X Gold, Hans Super Dries, are trading ahead of the market. So those big trusted brands, market leading brands that everyone knows and loves, have been the winner out of COVID from a line perspective. Their value, they're good value. They're priced at sort of that medium level range, and people know them, they love them, and that sort of was their old trusty throughout COVID. It's important to ensure you have a good mix of brands. So trying out some, craft and premium brands such as Byron Bay Premium Lager, which is coming out, rolling out nationally in May. And also James Squire Broken Shackles Lager has been around for the last few months. These are the brands that are driving value growth for the category. And we've also got Furphy Lager coming to market in August 2021. So Furphy Lager, on the back of the refreshing ale that was launched about 5 years ago and had huge success. As you can tell, the brands there you can see up on the right-hand side, they're all lagers. So it's almost like the market has almost flipped on its head, where people are now kind of, going back to wanting to have sessionable beers, something that's sort of palatable and not overly challenging. So, our new product development for this year is very much around bringing back a tasty lager that is something you can have quite a few of. Another point to note is to ensure that on your tap bank that you do have something for everyone, but you don't want to be too pointy and craft. You don't want to be too classic or, having those, light or mid-strength beers, because, they're obviously the value level where you're not going to be able to generate as much profit and margin from that. So ensuring that you've got a really good mix of brands on your tap bank. And I've called out their sessionable craft beers, so such as, the James Squire that I just mentioned, the lager, or a Kosciuszko Pale Ale, which, certainly you can have quite a few of them. And, you're not sort of feeling, overwhelmed by the taste of those beers. That does mean that people are going to come back and want more, which helps your bottom line. So some other brands on trend that are worth considering. So we launched White Claw, which is a massive brand out of the United States. That's coming to the market last October. And we're seeing massive results with that. It's a seltzer. So what is a seltzer? It's basically a sparkling water with a hint of flavour, but it's alcoholic. So some of them are either the alcohols from a spirit base, which this one is, or some are also they're brewed. So obviously the spirit based ones are going to have the RTD tax, so might be a little bit more expensive, whereas the brewed ones will not incur that RTD tax. So just something to, if you've got a goal of increasing your younger members or your younger member base, this could be something that will help attract them. So feel free to reach out to your line rep and find out what's available sort of in this kind of near beer space, where we'd love to increase our ranging. So there's 3 ways that you can grow your margin pool. So sell more beer, so lifting the patron spend per visit. So you'd pick your most popular brand and put it into the largest format possible. So like a jug or a mega jug are also available, which is 1700 mils. So that's that. If you want to sell more beer, you get your biggest brand and you trade customers up by using a bigger format. If you want to sell better beer, so increase your margin per serve, you trade them up. So it's a trade up brand. So for instance, here you've got a Lashes in the most popular format, which most would be Schooner. And then if you want to drive patron footfall and loyalty, it's picking the most popular brand and the most popular format. So in this case, it was 4X Gold in a Schooner version. So they're the ways that we sort of share with our customers, depending on what their goals are, how we sort of work with them to ensure that they're getting the best return for what their strategy is. So growing your revenue. So speed of service tools to support high traffic venues. So I know there are venues out there that don't do jugs. This is just sharing that jugs are working in a lot of those venues, and especially now that you want to be ensuring that speed of service is paramount. Jugs should be a consideration of yours. So why? Because they improve your speed of service, they lift patron spend, they extend patron occasion, and it's more appealing. The price point's more appealing to more patrons. It's also a contagious purchase. If you see someone walking back from the bar with a jug, it's kind of, you sort of feel like, oh, we should just get one of them. And once you do get in a round as well, you kind of feel like you need to sort of stay in that format as well. So it really can be a good way to grow your overall profit pool by offering something like that. We do have high quality communication tools, such as these semi-permanent tap talkers, which are like on a perspex material. They're not sort of the old floppy paper tap talkers that get wet. These ones are very premium, and once again, we can organise them for any customers who are on the call who are after them. So customers also, when they do see a tap talker with a price on it, even if it isn't a discount, patrons perceive that as a promotion. So, we've done some studies across multiple groups whereby we'll put on a tap talker with a price point on it, and even if it is the same price as what it would normally sell for, and there's a 22% uplift in sales, because consumers naturally think that that is a discounted price, even though it's not. So what better way to trade your consumers up into high margin brands than putting on a tap talker that absolutely highlights what brand you want them to choose based on those tools that I shared in the previous slide. So I don't want to confuse or complicate anything too much here, but this is I guess a diagrammatic way of showing the increase that you can make in profit per schooner by trading your consumers up. So in the middle there, if you see 2 is new, classic full. So if that's making up 50% of your total volume, you are going to make an extra 7% by trading customers up to a Hans Super Dry or a Furphy. You're going to make an extra 19% versus 2 is new if you sell lashes, 22% for Little Creatures, and Heineken and Kirin, you'll make 24% more. So obviously these price points might not be suited specifically to your venue, but this is something that we're working with our customers on to ensure that they've got a really good price differential, or what we call a price ladder, to make sure that the customers aren't just putting the same price on every brand, because they do cost obviously different amounts per keg. So, you know, that's something that we're doing with our customers to ensure that, you know, you're absolutely maximizing your profit per schooner or per jug or whatever format that you want to run, and ensure that they are, and your staff are well aware of what they should be trying to sell. So instead of trying to sell, you know, a light or a mid, why don't you know, put a little red sticker on the back of the tap decal so your staff know where there's a red sticker, that's kind of where you want to be selling. And that would definitely be those trade up brands or segments, such as, you know, low carb with Super Dry, Furphy, Lashes, Little Creatures, Kosciuszko, Heineken, Kirin, lots of options there to try and trade people up. But it really does come down to making sure that your staff are aware of what the key goal is for you, and ensuring that they are trained up to be able to upsell. I've only got one more slide left, and this is around National Local Day. So National Local Day was an initiative that Lion came up with a couple of months ago, and it was about celebrating the reopening of the on-premise channel 1 year after the COVID closure. So on the 23rd of March, we call it National Local Day, and that'll continue for years to come. We put out media in all the national papers with a QR code and the ability for anyone to scan over that QR code. It will take you through to an app where they can download their $15 card to take into any venue and buy a beer or buy a round or drink one of our products. So I've reached over 15 million people across Australia with a simple message of supporting your local, 1 year on from the darkest day in the history of our industry. Lion invested more than $1 million into this initiative, and it primed 40,000 patrons to get back into the on-premise channel with a $15 cash card, maximising the benefit for customers to get into venues. And it also didn't cause any disruption to any of our customers in, you know, sending stock or anything like that. We made it really simple. The cash was in the consumer's hand. They could go in and spend it. So there was a huge amount of money went into it. And that was all spent. So the uptake was absolutely well received, and we will likely do a little bit more advertising for it next year to ensure that all our customers know. But this was just a really simple way to get people back into venues and spending money. That was all, Gary.
Excellent, Julian. Thank you very much. Your presentations always make me thirsty, particularly when I see those images of those lovely big chilled jugs. Goes back to my past. But well done, Julian. Thank you very much for that. Now we're going to have a presentation from Denis Sullivan, who is the General Manager of Club Parramatta. Club Parramatta is part of the Castle Hill RSL group, and there's a brilliant new venue in the city, right in the heart of Parramatta. If you haven't been there, you need to go. It's a beautiful venue and a lovely social opportunity, a lovely, great atmosphere there. So make sure you take your friends to Club Parramatta. Denis, welcome, and thank you for your presentation.
Thank you, Gary. I'm sure you can hear me.
Yes.
Great. Hello, everyone. As Gary said, my name is Denis Sullivan. I'm the General Manager of Club Parramatta. Very fortunate to be that person. We are part of the Castle Hill Group, so we have Castle Hill RSL and also Linwood Golf and Country Club. As you're aware, Club Parramatta was formerly known as Parramatta RSL. In late January 2020, we opened the brand new facility on land formerly occupied by our bowling greens. And there's a few pictures of the club. Taking into account the COVID closure, we've now been trading for 12 months. We're currently in the process of building a multi-storey underground car park with approximately 550 spots. This should be fully operational, we're hoping, in 2022. In opening the new club, one of our first priorities was changing the perception of our potential clientele and attracting a diverse membership. No longer was this a dark, dingy, old-fashioned club only welcoming a small demographic of customers, as you can obviously see from the pictures. Obviously in Parramatta, it's a CBD and residential location with Bankwest Stadium only a short walk from us. So this gave us many opportunities to cater for a number of different markets. The office and corporate market, and we recognise this as a midweek lunch and after work opportunity. In appealing to this market, we built two very high-end attractive bars, as you saw in the previous screen, offering a wide range of products in all price brackets. For the office lunchtime, with their lunch break, we made sure we put on value for money lunch and drink combined deals. The object of this was to try and increase the amount of visits by the customer coming into us, and we've seen a lot of success in this. Obviously, the value for money I'll go into a little bit later. We're only able to do this and maintain margins by the partnerships we had with some of our suppliers. The upstairs bar, when we built it, we also made it a cocktail bar. We have since made it a cocktail bar, serving a lot of high-end cocktails. This bar has provided both the opportunity for larger gatherings, especially on Friday evenings for the corporate market and office market, and also private corporate functions. Both of these have proved very, very successful for us. The residential market, we identified mainly the 7 nights a week, plus obviously the weekend days. We were very busy. We attempted to, and I believe created, a very family-friendly, welcoming atmosphere. We have a large outdoor area with a kids' playground in it. You can see that there, and regular events to keep the little ones busy. Obviously, the parents and the carers extremely happy about that. They can take the extra 10 minutes to enjoy their drink, cup of coffee or their meal. So it's gone down very well. We have 2 separate catering outlets and a coffee shop. We made sure that we had a suitable menu that fulfilled virtually all family requirements. In putting the menus together for both food and beverage, we took the healthy options very important and made sure they were in there. Any members or guests attending the club now have a number of indoor and al fresco. Obviously, al fresco's very important under present times with COVID. We have a lot of spaces for them to relax and socialise. So on the ground floor, if you want to watch the sport, we have a very, very large screen, but a number of normal plasmas scattered around the place that we can show all the different sports on at different times. Likewise, though, if you feel like just a quiet coffee, you can go to the barista or one of our al fresco areas. And then again, if you want to walk upstairs, go up to the cocktail bar, you can enjoy a cocktail or any of the other beers that we sell, but you can listen to a DJ or live music. So what we've attempted to do in the residential demographic is try to have somewhere for everyone, whether it be a family, someone looking for a quiet time, a group of friends to watch sport, or somewhere now where you can dance, with the change of law. But so we've pretty much covered all bases, and we're seeing it being very profitable. As I said earlier, Bankwest, the stadium is a short distance away, and Julian spoke earlier about the speed of service. When Bankwest have a large event on, say, whether it be Parramatta play at home, we usually see a very large crowd, probably about 2.5 hours, it starts to build up prior to the event. And we see smaller numbers returning afterwards, again, depending on day and time of what we're doing, but using the footballs are probably a good example. Service is key at this time. So we set up portable bars. You can see a portable bar in the picture there. We have two, we will be setting two up. We only have one at the moment, but two portable bars. Again, speed of service is extremely important. They are attending an event. And whilst it's an event crowd, the people attending that event can often be repeat business. So the Parramatta supporters that go to every Parramatta game, no matter where they live, we hope that they'll use our venue each time they attend the stadium. So speed of service is important. At this time, whilst we have a very large menu for catering, we also put on an express dining menu. So it guarantees service within a certain time. So basically between the portable bars, the main bar, the upstairs bar, and the food outlets with the express menu, we try to ensure that you'll get a good drink, some good service, a nice meal prior to going to the event, and you will not be late, which can obviously cause a lot of problems. So we seem to have hit that quite well, and it's proved very profitable for us. Moving on, the hospitality venues today, culture, communication, and customer service, and obviously to achieve our goals, these are three very important parts of what we do. We set about trying to create a culture within our staff that welcomes all. As I said, it's a very diverse setting, so we want the staff to welcome all. We're not just there for one type of customer. So ongoing training and mentoring programs with a supportive nature from the top to the bottom of our organisation has helped us succeed in achieving this, and the staff have really bought into what we're trying to do and are key in making us successful. Alongside that, communication, obviously social media has been for a while the main source of communication. However, I believe, or we believe, COVID has taken that to a whole new level and making it even more important. The use of Facebook, Instagram, etc., it reaches virtually all demographics now. So the importance of us getting the story or information out there that looking good on time has never been as high. So we put a lot of emphasis on our communication, especially on the social media outlets. Customer service, it was the #1 most important aspect when I started in the industry 35 years ago, and still is. However, the expectation from our customers is forever changing. It's not just about the product and the speed of service anymore. Our staff need to be conscious of their body language, tone of voice, hygiene, even more so now following COVID and during COVID. Are they responsive to our customers' needs? Will they take initiative when required? These again are all what we've been trying to install in the staff to take on, and my floor managers. Again, this helps us to succeed and continue to be a profitable business. Also very important to us is our relationship with our stakeholders, whether they be contractors, suppliers, or associated businesses. Our affiliation with Lion has seen us form a very trustful relationship, with us working together to maximise both our results. We recently hosted a fringe music festival with 6 live acts performing. Lion helped us, so they assisted us by introducing 4 pillars to actually support and sponsor the event. So our customers received a great product at a great price. We achieved an excellent margin. The 4 pillars got the exposures they were looking for through our venue and social media platforms. Similarly, in partnership with Coke, we've done for families and on weekends and for large events at the stadium. Assisted by Coke, we've offered customers 2-for-1 jug deals. Again, customers happy, suppliers happy, and as the host, we've achieved an outcome that we desired. So all very important with us to buddy up with our suppliers and contractors. It helps the business and keeps our margins up there while offering a great deal. What trends are we seeing at the moment? Customers now, they like a story or storytelling. They're looking for the story. They want a reason to connect and enjoy the experience in the venue. It's no longer just about somewhere and something to drink. Quirky stories. How did the name Furphy come about? We've seen the Bellini revival, rebirth following the Aperol trend. Wine and food matching. Why does Riesling pair with spicy food? We find these are all now, customers want to know about these things. They want to understand them, and we have an obligation to provide the information, the story. That connects them with the venue. It gives them something extra, it gives them a part of being there. So we believe this is now more important, and we've tried to do this through social media or within the venue and staff knowledge, obviously, and how they put this across. Creativity is key. Yep, we always try to change things up a bit. New twists on old favourites. We found, obviously, the art of cocktail making, we've never seen it in such high demand. So what we've done, we've taken old classics and put our twists on them. We might have changed the ingredients slightly, and obviously changed the names of the classic cocktails slightly, and all that connects it with Club Parramatta more so than just a cocktail. So we try to connect it to the venue, because again, if people are enjoying it, when they go outside and talk to people, family, friends, they'll connect that drink with Club Parramatta, and hopefully then it promotes further business for us. During the colder months, we also put on a hot mulled wine and a hot mulled apple cider. Again, something different for the customer. Creates a conversation, creates a story, creates an experience. Whether you like them or not, we found them very popular. They did create an awful lot of conversation. People have been asking to bring back the mulled wine. Obviously, that won't be too far away, we'll have to get colder. But again, it created that story and that connection with the club, and people spoke about it outside, and yeah, we saw increased business. Obviously, when they came in, if they wanted to try the mulled wine, their friends had tried other drinks, so helped us along. We've seen huge change in certain products, and a much more popularity in some of the tap drinks we now range outside our traditional beers. So we have James Squire alcoholic ginger beer, Four Pillars Bloody Shiraz, gin spritz, Sophie white peach and ginger spritz, and Canadian Club and Dry, just to name a few. These are all offered on tap. And again, they often bring in a different clientele to our marketplace. Craft beer, we're fortunate with 32 lines that we can change up our craft beer a fair bit. People do look for the next craft beer to try. And we've seen a lot of success being able to frequently change certain lines for a different craft beer. Presently, our most recent offering is the Panhead Quick Change Pale Ale, originating from Wellington, New Zealand. Again, it's got that bit of a story behind it. It's a New Zealand craft beer. We give the customers some information on it, and they enjoy that. So now the presentation of drinks, we've also seen taken much more high importance with them to create, again, that experience. So we make sure we have the correct glasses for the type of drink, whatever we're serving, and we have the applicable garnishes, whether it be in a cocktail or gin Shiraz, whatever the case may be. The theatre of making the drink adds to the experience for the customer and creates the memory and the connection. Once again, I know I keep going on about this, but it's very important they create that connection with our venue, so they talk about our venue when they're outside of it. Whether it's shaking a cocktail, pouring the perfect pint of Guinness, that'd be my choice, or serving a Barossa Shiraz in a large wine glass. Customers want good service with a good product and experience to match. Whilst we need to be creative, we should never forget the steadfast products and the important role they play. The normal beers or whatever we sell, they are still very important to what we do. Wellness, is it here to stay? Is a question some people don't like hearing. Many people see this as an unnecessary challenge. It's also an opportunity for businesses who are able to pivot quickly, understand the market, and respond with promotion, product, and price. Most of us have dealt with this from a dining perspective, looking at wellness and well-being, but not so much in beverage. Now, the lower carb drinks, non-alcoholics, the seltzer, we spoke about White Claw earlier, Justin spoke about White Claw earlier, alcohol-free and no alcohol drinks. These are all products we make readily available. the mindset of many of our under 30 drinkers or younger drinkers in the market see quality in these drinks versus quantity, and will often pay a premium price for some of the ranges, obviously making our margins good. So we're very pleased with that. In conclusion, guys, that is my presentation. It's obviously very condensed, but we found a lot of these have been contributing factors that has seen us show growth month on month, even in our food and beverage departments today. So I'd like to take the opportunity to invite anyone who'd like to contact me at Club Parramatta, or should they like a tour of the venue or have any questions in the future. Thanks for your time today, and Gary, I appreciate it.
Thank you very much, Denis. Very comprehensive. And as I said in the intro, I encourage people to visit Club Parramatta. It's an outstanding venue. And you've heard from Denis there some of the key things that they've been doing to achieve success. When the venue only opened about a month or so before we were closed from COVID. So for them to be able to survive and to build their trade and build their presence in Parramatta is an outstanding achievement. So well done, Denis. I might ask you, Denis, if you can take yours down, right? And our next presenter is my very good friend, Warwick Brook, the State Manager from Bortoli Wines. As many of you will know, Bortoli is our exclusive wine sponsor. And if you come to our conference that's on in a couple of weeks' time, or our annual conference in September, you will enjoy some great product from Bortoli Wines at the welcome party and at the conference dinners. Warwick, lovely to see you, and please start your presentation.
Thank you, Gary, and good afternoon all. Certainly appreciate everyone's time this afternoon. As Gary said, my name's Warwick Brook, State Manager of Bortoli Wines here in New South Wales, and I'll be taking you through all the happenings of wine in the market at this present stage. The agenda, obviously just going to go through and have a look at some market data. We'll have a look at the sparkling whites and reds. No better way to find out trends than actually having a look at some data. Have a look at some single serve options. We'll have a look at some on-premise brands as well, and then finalise with the POS options that we have available for you. So sparkling wine, let's just have a look at what's happening in sparkling wine. If you just have a look at the left-hand side of the slide, you'll see that total sparkling wine, underneath that is champagne, Brut, Cuvée, Prosecco, going down the list, Pinot Chardonnay, sparkling rosé, so on and so forth. If you just go to that next column, you'll see against sparkling wine, obviously the category is at 100%. You'll see that champagne represents 28% of the category, which is huge. Brut Cuvée, 24.6%. Prosecco, now at 15%. Now, I should add that Prosecco about 3 or 4 years ago was at about 1.3%. So the growth in Prosecco has been enormous. Pinot Chardonnay, 13.1, sparkling rosé at 8.5. If you move across another 2 columns, you'll see that the growth in sparkling wine from the top is at 19.9% on last year. If you have a look at champagne, it's growing at 40.2% this year on last year, which is enormous when you consider that it's 28% of the category. Answer for that is pretty simple. We haven't been able to spend our money overseas for the last 12 months, so there's been a lot more money staying inside this island, so to speak. So nothing's been going offshore, so that is huge growth. 5.3 for Cuvée. Prosecco is really the highlight here, which is at 30.5%. So if you consider where it was 3 or 4 years ago, how much it's grown, and it's growing now at 30.4, that is enormously significant. So how can we help you capitalise on the Prosecco growth? And that comes down to our King Valley Prosecco. So Prosecco, as I stated, outperforming the market at 30.5% versus last year. And our King Valley Prosecco, as most would have seen this product around, is growing at 88.6% year on year. It's now the second biggest selling Prosecco, Australian Prosecco on the market. And it won't be long, incidentally, before we see it as number 1. So Prosecco growing at 31%, this product growing at nearly 89% versus last year. Basically, do you have Prosecco on your list? If you don't have Prosecco, you need a Prosecco. If you don't have a Prosecco, this is the Prosecco you should have. White wine. Same again, white wine going down the left-hand column, Sauv Blanc. 41.7% of all sales of white wine in Australia is Sauvignon Blanc. That is just incredible, absolutely incredible. If you add the Chardonnay below it, 19%. So in two different varietals, nearly 60% of all sales are committed to these two brands, or these two varietals, I should say. Sauv Blanc, or Sem Sauv Blanc at 10.2. Pinot Grigio, Pinot Gris, 7.2 and 5.3, which is about 12.5% of the category. For those that may or may not know, this is pretty much, it is the same grape variety. It's just a different way that it's actually produced, and the style that comes out. One's a little bit sweeter, one's a little bit drier. So a little bit more residual sugar in one, less sugar in the other. If you go across and have a look and see how the growth is going within the category, white wine at 8.5. So very, very healthy growth. Sauvignon Blanc, as I said, 41.7% of the category, growing at 6.7, extremely healthy. Chardonnay, 9.8. Everyone said that Chardonnay's dead. ABC, I think they used to call it anything but Chardonnay. Well, it's growing at nearly 10% year on year. If you have a look at Pinot Grigio and Pinot Gris, combined, being similar styles, nearly 35% growth amongst them. So pretty much the biggest in the category. So what do we have that can help you capitalise on this particular trend? And that's our La Boheme Pinot Gris. Beautifully packaged, as many would have seen. Beautiful juice inside as well. So if you've got a category inside this, being Gris and Grigio, and these varietals growing at 35% annually, I suppose my question to you is, does your wine list reflect this particular growth? And if it not, it certainly needs to. It needs to reflect the growth of Grigio and Gris. This particular product here, and the reason I put it up, it is coming out in the market very soon in the next couple of months. But the reason I put it there is to show that the data that we get is the data that we have a look at when we're doing new product development. Just like you should be doing within your clubs, especially with your wine list, you should be having a look at this data and going, okay, what is growing? We don't just sort of come out and say, hey, we want to pick a particular product or a particular varietal. We actually study what's happening in the market data. So just like you should be, we do exactly the same. No doubt you'll see this in the coming months, so watch out for it, but it is reflective of what's happening in the market. We have a look at the red wine here. This is light white wine, very interesting as well. You'll see that Shiraz makes up 38.6% of the category, Cabernet at 18.9%, and Pinot at 13.4%. So if you take those three varietals, that's 71% of the category is made up of three varietals. And basically everything after that is pretty much just an also run. So that is significant. Just like white wine, how big and how structured we are in Australia with regard to what we drink. So, same again, do we have anything that we can capitalise on? Absolutely we do. With La Boheme, as we said, Pinot is the number 3 biggest selling red wine varietal, accounting for about 13.4% of that category, and it's growing at that 25% year on year. And La Boheme is our 3rd biggest selling bottled brand. So Pinot, number 3 selling red wine, growing at 25%. Do you have Pinot on your list? So many venues that I go to that don't reflect this and don't have a Pinot. Well, you can see from the data that this is something that all venues should have on their list moving forward. Another brand that I love is our wood-fired Shiraz. I've loved it since it first came out, and it is fantastic, fantastic value for money. So as we know, Shiraz is the number 1 selling red varietal, accounting for about 38.6%. Our particular range, the wood-fired range, is growing at 83% year on year. And it also comes grown in an area in Victoria called Heathcote, which is probably the home of the Victorian Big Red, so to speak. It's got great soil and it's got great climate. So it really is, when it comes down to flavour and value for money, it's very hard to go past this particular Shiraz. And I know that every venue would certainly have Shiraz on their list, but I suppose the question to think about is, you know, what is our Shiraz like? What's the quality like? There's lots of good Shirazes out there, and they're like probably many things, there's lots of ordinary Shiraz out there as well. So it really comes down to asking the question to yourselves, are you delivering quality to your patrons? If you have a look back, and when you get the opportunity, no doubt you'll see this when Gary puts this out and the recording goes out, you'll see that one of the big growth areas in red wine at the moment is a varietal called Grenache. Now, Grenache is probably the new boy on the block here in Australia, but it's most likely the widest planted grape variety of any grape variety in the world. Not a lot of people have tried Grenache. It is growing at 49.1% year on year. And to put it simply, it's probably the bridge between Pinot and Shiraz, something in the middle. So it's not too heavy and it's not that lighter style like Pinot. I would say that majority of venues don't have Grenache on the list. But I suppose the question back again now is that if something's growing at 49.1% year on year, it should be, why don't we have a Grenache on our list? Now, I must preface that by stating, yes, it is a smaller category at the moment, but at 49.1% year on year, you can see that moving forward, this is going to become more of a trending product and more of a trending wine in each and every venue. So it is something to consider. Rosé, I think everyone would realise what's happened with rosé over the last 5 years. It certainly has been selling enormously well. We do have the climate here in Australia, and it is a product that has gone growth on growth year on year. If you have a look at the category there, you'll see that rosé is actually growing at 30.5%, which is very significant when you consider a number of years ago that we only had a couple of brands. Everyone would know Matus. That was probably the only one that anyone would buy. Well, now there's fridgefuls of rosé and different styles of rosé. As you'd all be aware, rosé is not a grape variety, it's a winemaking style. So it's made from red grapes, and any red grape can make a rosé. The colour comes from the light contact on the skin. So I suppose, how can we help you with rosé if you don't have a rosé on the list? And that's our product called Rosé Rosé, which is experiencing huge growth at the moment at about 207% year on year. It's number 5 in its price bracket at the moment. So if you don't have a rosé on the list, you probably need to be asking yourself why. With that particular growth, 30.5% that we've seen, that will continue to go for many years to come. One of the things I suppose to come out of hygiene, of COVID, has been the hygiene factor. More and more single serve options are available these days. As you can see within our portfolio, there's 10 different varieties that we've got at the moment. We've seen significant growth over the last 12 months, which, as I said, is one of the post curses, I suppose, from COVID. The advantage is obviously they are very convenient. There is absolutely no wastage. And probably for most venues, the most important thing is the hygiene factor. But significantly, another contributing factor is they do return exceptionally good margin. So if you don't have a single serve options, maybe now, as we all get back to some sort of normality, single serve options need to be considered moving forward. Just a quick update on our on-premise only exclusives. Obviously, everyone has on-premise wines within their venues. It's important that entry level is important on a wine list. It's important not to get too carried away with ensuring that your wine list is 100% on-premise brands only. People don't mind paying $20 or $25 for a brand that they don't know, which is that entry level. But they do tend to balk when they're paying at 30 or 35 for something that they don't know. So it's really important moving forward that you have on-premise brands, but importantly, they become at that entry level. As I said, people, if they're going to be paying $30 for a bottle of wine or $35 for a bottle of wine, they want to make sure that what they're buying, that they recognise and that they know that for the hard-earned dollars that they are going to be getting some sort of quality and something that they recognise. We have a couple of other options with on-premise. We have quite a few ranges in the portfolio of on-premise. This particular one being Vivo, and we also have another one as well called Lorimer. So they're two different tiers when it comes to on-premise exclusive opportunities. Really important that if you do lots of functions and lots of events, that you utilize that second and third tier package. Nothing worse than offering a package and using the products that you have on the wine list so that people can revert back to what value and what perception am I getting for my dollar. So really important that you have a look at the options that are available. And if you do lots of events and lots of functions, make sure that you don't have any link back to price perception from a wine list point of view. Just some of the point of sale options that we have available to each and every one of you. It's really important to have, obviously product in the club, but the most important thing, or venue, most important thing is to make sure that those particular products are moving outside of the club. So we have lots of point of sale options to help you do that, whether it be updating your wine list, whether it be tent cards, whether it be wine of the months, or whether it be digital marketing as well. If you happen to have TV screens or anything like that around, or whether you have some TV screens at the till, we have a marketing department that can come up and utilize some of that digital marketing so that we can be promoting your brand as well as our brand as well. So there was a fair bit of information, especially in the data with regard to the sparkling red and white categories. Obviously, Gary's recorded this, and you'll obviously get the opportunity to go back and have a look and delve into it a little bit more in depth. I do hope that I've given you some sort of insights into the trends that are happening at the moment, and hopefully I've been able to give you some sort of insights into some of the opportunities that from our portfolio that may present them as well. I certainly appreciate the opportunity that I've been given today to present to you. Obviously, these are my details here, so if anyone would like to get in contact with me, please feel free. Alternatively, you can contact your local Bortoli representative. So thank you all very much for your time. And Gary, thank you for the opportunity to present some of the trends that's happening in wine.
Well, thank you very much, Warwick. And I should say I've been making my personal efforts to boost your La Boheme Rosé sales as much as I possibly can. It's my favourite drop. So I would have thought with the sales that I've been doing in the last few months, you should have had huge figures for La Boheme Rosé. But anyway, it's a great drop.
I was going to put the figures up, but they'd be embarrassing.
Yeah, so I'd be probably responsible for a lot of them. Anyway, thank you very much, Warwick. It's now my great pleasure to introduce Daniel Heffernan. Daniel is the state manager for Coca-Cola, and he has some very interesting information to provide about their products and services. So, Daniel, welcome.
Thanks very much, Gary, and also for the opportunity to present, and Denis for the support that you've shown through our business as well. Sorry. In the interest of time today, we'll power through relatively quickly. The great news is some of the information that Julian shared and the information Denis shared from a portfolio and similarity to what I'll share today from a portfolio perspective is quite well aligned, and it shows that there is some good commonality around that. In where I thought I'd start today, I just thought we'd quickly touch on some of the major parts of our portfolio. Being multi-bev across Amatil, I thought in the time slot it would be pretty hard to give you great level of detail across all of our parts of the business. So I've focused our attention on two key areas around our non-alc performance and activations. Secondly, around our key alcohol brands, mainly focused around Jim Beam and Canadian Club. And thirdly, just some other trends that we're seeing within the market. In regards to non-alcohol performance and activations, where I thought would be a great point to start today was actually to look back a little bit on what's happened over the last 12 months for how we've gone to market in regards to our non-alc component of our business. And first part was this around how do we engage patrons into venue. I know today we're talking about what are the consumer trends and how do we capitalize on that. But really importantly, what I'm going to show you is how well it can impact just making sure we get the first part of that right in driving consumers into venues. So that was our first point of contact, and making sure that we had the opportunity to engage with patrons and help them return to venues as part of their routine. We did this through multiple styles of promotions that you may have seen in the market, and it was very much a focus around leveraging our community and local support through campaigns like Love Your Local, Support Your Local. And we also focused our attention on bringing theatre back to venues and personalisation through the Share a Coke campaign. The second area of focus for us was around ensuring we could assist venues through encouraging walk-ins. One of the challenges was that spontaneity was impacted from visiting bars with restrictions, and it's about how do we bring that back. From our side of things, a couple of the really important areas for that are focusing on things like how do we drive menu and meal activation, things that are directly tied to foot traffic, like activating events like trivia nights, happy hours, cocktails, sporting events, all of the things that will drive in incremental foot traffic into your venues. And lastly, from us, we have been focusing on how do we get the balance right between rewarding patrons and staff to drive engagement through this area. And Denis spoke about the importance of customer service and all of these elements of how do we make sure we've got the right touch points to help engage. And the other element is making sure we've used this area to drive patrons to have longer and repeat purchases through the consumer mechanics that we showed. The reason I've put that as a bit of context for you is looking back over the last 8 months, since kind of moving back into trade from post-lockdown, I just wanted to share some performance metrics of the activations that we put into market. And I suppose this is about why we activate our brands. When we put it in this context, it fully supports our thought process that we're doing the right thing to engage with consumers via the support of you as customers to do that. All the results you'll see are directly compared to like-for-like venues that didn't participate in the promotion. So over July and up to September, we activated a Support Your Local campaign that some of you may have run. We did this across 1,200 venues nationally. What you would see is historically about 40% of any number you see is relative to New South Wales due to the size of our fountain and club portfolio. Every venue that we activated this in on average grew at about plus 19% volume points in regards to customers that didn't activate the Support Your Local campaign, hence why it was very much focused around how do we support them. Next one was around activating over September and giving some form of gamification and being able to bring activations to life in venues and focus around key events that used to drive good traffic to venues like footy finals. We activated this in much more strategic sport venues, but we also did about almost 600 venues nationally, and it drove almost 13% growth in like-for-like venues. And then we honed in on the elements of the Support Your Local that worked really, really well and targeted some larger scale ones around Love Your Local and rewarding consumers and patrons for coming back into venues. And we activated this at about 450 venues, and it also delivered about plus 15% growth. The last one, which I will share with you, I won't share in sales detail, is around the Share a Coke campaign, which we ran over Jan and Feb. We invested a hell of a lot of money in driving this personalisation. We delivered it over to 1,800 venues nationally. Over 700 of them sat within New South Wales. So I'm hoping that a large proportion of you were able to activate this. And it created some great media and hype around how we engage with our customers. A small tavern, 500 k's out of Brisbane in the town of Roma was the actual winner. And you'll see some more media come out of this. But again, just some activations that what we know is working. What is on the horizon is we will continue to focus and leverage our global brands and our national assets to drive that consumption in venue, because what I've just shown you is we know it works. So we'll continue down this path. We want to continue to focus on mechanics of upsell occasion. Julian did a great job explaining as to the benefits of sharing and Coke and jug activation and what the benefits of that are. And making sure we've got the right combination between chance to win in stores and gift with purchases, because it does make a difference on the overall performance. On the day-to-day side of things, look, we've got a wealth of support that we can provide you at any point in time if you do need anything around point of sale items and general hardware items that we can help use to do trade ups, price points, price mechanics that will drive incremental volume in that space. Next, I'll quickly touch on alcohol trends and activation. Again, there was a lot of synergy between where we've already spoke about. I just picked 3 brands of ours to talk about today. The first is around, and Julian mentioned this as well from the beer perspective, what we've seen is the established brands and the trusted brands are the ones that are performing really well in the market, with the balance of a certain element of people wanting to try things different. We've seen really strong growth within Jim Beam White, but what we'll be doing this year is, to Denis's point, it's about drinking bourbon differently. So how do we create this being new? We know they trust the brand, we know it's delivered strong growth, so how do we engage with our consumers to drink bourbon differently? The second is around CC. It's continued to lead the way in refreshment. We've experienced significant growth on this, even growth versus 2019 when on-premise was at full strength. And the focus won't change with this. It's around trial for us. We know that it's got a quirky nature about it. There's got some great campaigns that sit behind it that I'll talk to in a little bit. But end of the day, being able to have diversity on tap banks and appeal to more consumers is where we've seen the strength and growth in this brand. And lastly, a brand of ours has said across multiple spirit companies, they'll all sing the same song, that gin has been flying. We've been exceptionally lucky with the performance of Roku and the brand Japan element of this that's brought to life. We've seen some really strong growth in light spirits, specifically led by on-premise in gin. And Roku as a brand, which was only launched in the Australian market a couple of years ago, is now larger than Hendrick's 700ml in both volume and value in Australia. So we've really moved the dial on this brand, and it's something that just absolutely is resonating with customers. So it's about how do we drive that premiumization through the upsell into a premium product to drive further margin into your till, as opposed to necessarily a first pour via cocktail and all those pours that give you that higher dollar value in the till. From an alcohol activation perspective, I've really only touched on 2 brands here. From a Beam perspective, the main focus will be around how do we unlock this highball and new occasion. It will be exceptionally focused around media partnerships, social media, and Denis mentioned around the growth in social media. I quickly had a look at some stats that I saw that I didn't put in this presentation, but social media engagement is up 61% at the moment on year on year. So from last year, based on that, engagements with social media up 61% to such a well-established platform that everybody uses, to know that that's up 60% and web browsing is up 70%. Are 2 key touch points that we know are really key to making sure we get cut through with all consumers. The other element of the activations, we'll also be investing within bar education as well. Backyard jams is something you may see through the media and in larger scale venues where we're partnering bourbon and activation within food, music, and just that general always welcome feel that bourbon brings. From a CC perspective, you won't see a lot of change. We've had year on year growth with this brand, and it continues to resonate with both the older and the younger demographic. The campaign you'll start to see hit market is about when did beer move in, and you'll see the trend within winter through the bad sweater style promotions that do come through with some great media and on-premise support that will come to follow these. I've just put these in. This is an example of when I talk about drinking bourbon differently. This is some of the things that we'll be bringing to market over the next couple of months. And as you'll see, very light focused, fresh fruit focused, soda and lime, soda lemon lime, soda peach, which will be helping to drink bourbon differently in a category that's shown such great growth, that how do we keep the consumers engaged? I'm very conscious of time, so trying to flick through this very quickly. The last couple of things, some of you may have seen this. It's actually a little bit of a circle back over what was potentially presented last time when Craig Weeks presented. But just to reiterate the importance of this, contactless ordering is going to continue. It's going to become a larger part of this. So how do your ordering platforms create visual enticement, which extends to beverage? Because this is how we're going to continue to grow overall profitability and that service level and engagement with customers. Virtual experience and gamification will definitely continue to play a role in activations. This is about engaging with consumers in fun ways through the activations we put into market, and it will continue to trend up. And lastly, this is just around how do we always continue to increase average spend and profitability. And there's some really great data in here around the ability to bundle with food. So when we talk about the average club serving 50,000 serves of soft drink per year, and an incidence rate of around 55% purchasing a beverage with that, we can never do enough in this space to keep driving the behaviour to ensure that there is beverage attached to meal purchase, and ensuring that drives the overall profitability. When we look at it from what that means, 25% is without beverages. 65% of shoppers say meal deals help them choose. And just a bit of a random fact that's not about beverages, but 75% of content watched on Netflix is via what's recommended. So you can see the importance of the consumer being engaged with what's recommended. So how you develop that and how you bundle it, how you increase beverage consumption with that is all really important. We have a suite of tools across all our portfolio that we won't need to go into detail today. But in the interest of time, hopefully that's a very quick view of some of our key brands and key portfolio areas of growth and opportunity across the Amatil business that we've seen over the last 12 months and going forward. So really appreciate the opportunity to present, guys. Thank you.
Well, Daniel, thank you very much. And some excellent data there. And what I do encourage people to understand is that you're welcome to contact all of our corporate partners who have presented, and they will be more than happy to share further information with you. So their email addresses are there and their mobile phone numbers for each of our 4 presenters today. Gentlemen, excellent presentations, lots of data. Probably people need to watch this a couple of times just to absorb all the information that you've provided, but you've provided some excellent information for club managers to really get a handle on how to boost their sales in beverages across beer, wines, soft drinks, spirits, and I appreciate the contributions and the effort you put in making those 4 presentations available. So thank you all very, very much. And ladies and gentlemen, please make contact with one of those or all of those presenters if you wish to. I just want one closing thing I want to remind people about is our Gaming and Leadership Conference. If you have not yet registered, there's only a couple of weeks left to go to register for that conference. It's on in Sydney at the Star Casino from the Wednesday evening, the 28th of April, through to Friday afternoon, the 30th of April. If you have not got details about that, you're more than welcome to contact me at the RSL and Services Clubs Association, and we can send you the data. But thank you all very much, and thank you, gentlemen, and we'll see you all in a month's time with the next webinar.